Click on the subscribe button, especially the bell on the right side. Otherwise, you will miss the latest videos.
Hello everyone, my name is Vidhan Pandya. In this video, I want to talk about Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha. Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha is one of the dashas under Bhrigu Astrology. As the name suggests, this comes from Sage Bhrigu. It's a very interesting and easy to use dasha system. In the different years, different planets are activated, and for each running year, a different planet will give its result, right? So there are ages defined for each planet, and that's how we apply this dasha and give predictions. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to take you through some examples and show you how to apply this dasha and give predictions using this dasha. We'll go to Saptarishis Astrologer's desk web app, which is at saptarishis.net. So the first example we are going to take is the example of Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri. Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, as you might know, he was the second Prime Minister of India. So here are the birth details of Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. Now, just so that you are aware that this is a border ascending chart, which means the change of birth time by a few minutes will change the ascendant of this chart. But if you look at this chart, this is Sagittarius rising, and I believe this is the right ascendant for him because he had this. If you look at the chart through Sagittarius ascendant, you will see numerous Raj Yogas in the chart. That's why he became the Prime Minister of India, right? And then the second thing about Sagittarius ascendant is that these people are generally very much inclined towards education, studies, philosophy, and then if you notice his title, his last name is Shastri. He was born as in a Srivastava family, but because of his intellect and because of his inclination towards higher learning, higher education, he was given the title of Shastri, right? So that's why I believe the Sagittarius ascendant is the right ascendant for him. Now, in order to find the Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha, we go into the Nadi Astrology module, and under this you will find the Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha. So I'll talk about some of the events in his life, right? So the first event happened in the 48th running year for him. So during this time, Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri was a minister of Home Minister in the government of Uttar Pradesh, right? But then suddenly when the election happened, he was made the Minister of Railways and Transportation during this particular year. So it was a surprise move, right? Everybody was expecting him to continue as the Home Minister in the Uttar Pradesh government, but then he was pulled into the central government for the first time, and he was given the title and the post of the minister, right? So this event happened in the 48th running year. He became the Home Minister, the Minister of Railways and Transportation on the 13th of May, 1952, right? As you can see, this will fall under 48th year for him. During this year, as you can see on the screen, he was running the Naisargic Dasha of Moon, right? So we know that Sun and the Moon are the king and the queen in the planetary cabinet, right? So Sun and the Moon are a very important planet when it comes to government post, government being president, prime minister, having a important post in the government. and that's applicable across the globe, right? So you be in any part of the world, sun and the moon are like the governing planets, right? They are the ones who control us, right? Very, very important planets. So here Naisargic Dasha of moon is running, and moon is sitting in the 10th house for him, right? 10th house is the house of karma, 10th house is the house of status. And he suddenly gained the status of the central minister of transportation and railways, right? Why sudden? Because moon is the 8th lord, and 8th house is a house of suddenness. 8th house is a house of surprises. So that gave him a sudden rise in his status, and it made him the minister in the central government, right? So you can see how beautifully this works. Now let me talk about his being the prime minister. So he became the prime minister of India in his 60th running year. He became the prime minister of India on 9th of June 1964, which will fall under running year 60. Now, if you see the Naisargic Dasha, so it is the time when the Naisargic Dasha of Jupiter will run for him. Jupiter here is in the 5th house. 5th house is the house of power, right? So he gained a lot of power. So he was the minister, and then he became the prime minister. So there is a lot of increase in the power which is happening because of the 5th house connection. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, so he grew in the power. His power grew many folds when he became the prime minister of India. And then this Jupiter is also the lord of ascendant, and this Jupiter is making a connection. Jupiter is in the house of Mars, and Mars, the dispositor of Jupiter, goes in the 9th house. So there is and Jupiter is aspecting Mars. So there is a very strong connection with the 9th house, right? Because the 5th lord, Mars, has gone into the 9th house, and Jupiter itself is aspecting the 9th house and the planet Mars and the planet Rahu. Rahu here will act like a Yoga Karaka planet, right? Because Rahu is with Mars. Mars is the 5th lord. So it's a trine lord. And Rahu being associated with a trine lord in a trine sign will give him Raj Yoga. So Rahu is a very Raj Yoga giving planet for him. And Rahu has an aspect of Jupiter also, and Rahu is with Mars. So again, all these are very favorable combination in a chart, in this chart, right? So he became the prime minister when the Naisargic Dasha of Jupiter is running, right? So Jupiter is planet of expansion. He grew in the power, and it is the lord of ascendant. So very auspicious planet for his chart. And because of the ninth house, 9th lord connection, it gave him immense rise in the power, and then he becomes the prime minister of India. So again, very easy to use, very easy to understand, easy to apply. Now let's talk about then the next year. In the 1965, we all know that there was a war between India and Pakistan, right? And then India wins the war, and on January 10th, 1966, right, which is his running year 62, on 10th of January 1966, he signs the Tashkent Agreement, and the next day, which is 11th of January 1966, he dies, right? And there are various theories about why he died. Some say that he died of a heart attack, cardiac arrest. Some people say that he was poisoned, right? So he died in a very mysterious circumstances. There is a lot of mystery surrounding his death. Now let's see what is the Naisargic Dasha running during this time. So he was running the Naisargic Dasha of Sun. Now here we should pay attention to why Sun, right? Sun is in the 10th house. 10th house is associated with the karma. Generally, the Dasha of 10th Lord it is also very potent to give the end of life, because end of karma is end of life, because we all are here to perform our karma, and when the karma gets over, the life also gets over. Again, it's a very broad concept. Maybe it requires um, its own discussion and further details. But just so that you are aware that 10th house and 10th lord can also give death, and this is what is happening in the case of Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. Now, again, you will ask, like, 10th house is the house of his status. So what happened to his status? So as India won the war, his status and his popularity grew manifolds. He became popular not just within India, he gained support across the board from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. He was praised all over India, and he was praised outside of India also. On the international stage also, his personality became very famous, very popular, right? And that was one of the reasons why he died, right? So there are people who will tell you that he was poisoned. There are people who will tell you that he was killed, he was murdered. Why he was killed? Because his popularity was not appreciated by a particular section of the political family, right? I'm sure you understand who I'm talking about, but because he became the eyesore for some, right? And he became like unreplaceable, right? Because he won the war, right? And that was very difficult for a lot of people to digest, and they it seems they killed him, right? So here the Dasha of Sun is running. Sun is the 9th lord in the 10th house. Very fortunate Raj Yoga combination. 9th lord in the 10th house with an exalted planet Mercury. It's a very beautiful Raj Yoga. But the Sun is also the dispositor of Mars and Rahu. Mars is the 12th lord of exit, and Rahu is the planet of mystery. He died in a mysterious circumstances. There is a lot of mystery surrounding his death. Why this is happening? Because 12th house is the house of exits. You're going to the another world. And this is what happened in his life during the Naisargic Dasha of Sun. Now let's look at some other charts. Let's look at the chart of Srimati Indira Gandhi. We'll take the examples. We'll talk about some events, some important events in the life of Srimati Indira Gandhi, and apply the Naisargic Dasha the same way we did for Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri, right? And then see how we can apply this Dasha. So again, we all know the birth details of Srimati Indira Gandhi. So let's go to our Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha. So during the running year 49th, on 24th Jan 1966, she becomes the Prime Minister for the first time. I repeat, 24th of Jan 1966 is when she becomes the Prime Minister of India. Now here, the Naisargic Dasha of Moon and Sun were running. Now pay attention to the lordship of Moon. So Moon is the Lord of Ascendant, having an exchange with Saturn. So there is an exchange between Saturn and Moon, right? And we know the basic rule about exchanges of planet is that each planet will behave like they are in its own sign. And we know that in the chart of Srimati Indira Gandhi, there are 3 sets of planets who are in the exchange relationship with another planet. And that's why she became the Prime Minister of India for a very long period of time. And she became like a very prominent political figure in India, right? So here the Naisargic Dasha of Sun and Moon are running. So now Sun also is having an exchange. There is an exchange between Sun and Mars in this chart. So Sun is the 2nd lord, and then Mars is the 5th lord. So there is an exchange between the 5th lord and the 2nd lord. Again, 5th lord of 5th house of power is coming here. And planets, sun and moon, both are the political planets. Both are the king and the queen. Sun is the king, moon is the queen in the planetary cabinet. Hence, Naisargic Dasha of sun and moon made her the Prime Minister of India during this period. We'll take the next example. So she became the Prime Minister during this year, and then she lost the election on 24th of March 1977 is when she lost the election. So it was the running year 60 for her. During the running year 60, she lost the post of Prime Minister. Now let's see what was the Naisargic Dasha running during that time. So she was running the Naisargic Dasha of Jupiter. Here, Jupiter is retrograde. So it's going to give whimsical results. It's not going to give you the normal results of Jupiter, right? It becomes powerful, but then we have to remember that Jupiter is also the 6th lord. And Jupiter is in exchange relationship between Venus, which is 11th lord, and Jupiter, and Venus is sitting in the 6th house. So there is a 6th-11 connection between Jupiter and Venus. So here Jupiter will act like the 6th lord, because planets in exchange will give you the results as if planets are sitting in its own house, in its own sign. So here Jupiter will give results like the 6th lord, and Jupiter is connected with Gulik and Venus is connected with Rahu. So all these resulted in her losing the power. So she lost the election during this running dasha of Jupiter. Then 3 years after, on 14th Jan 1980, she again came back to power and she again becomes the Prime Minister of India. Right? So during her 63rd running year, she comes back to power. And then there was a Naisargic Dasha of Sun, which is running. So we saw during the 49th year also, when she became the Prime Minister of India, she was running Naisargic Dasha of Sun and Moon. But here at this time, in the year 63rd, she is running the Naisargic Dasha of Sun, which again brought her back to the power. And again, Sun, as we know, in the planetary cabinet, it is the king. So no surprises there why she came back to the power during the 63rd running year. Then 4 years hence, when she was running 67th year, she died. Right? So let's see what is the Naisargic Dasha running during that time. So she was running the Naisargic Dasha of Mercury. Mercury is the 12th lord of exit. 12th lord, we know that can give death. And we saw that in case of Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri also, it was the 12th lord involvement which caused the death of Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri also. So here 12th lord Mercury is activated. Mercury is in the 5th house. And Mercury is sitting with Sun. So she was the Prime Minister of India during that time, right? And she was killed during that time. So here also we can see Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha is working very beautifully. And Mercury here is also, we should also remember that Mercury is the dispositor of Ketu. Ketu is in the 12th house and in the sign Gemini, which is the sign of debilitation for Ketu. And Mercury is also the 3rd lord. 3rd lord also, as we know, 3rd house is 8 from 8. So hence it can give death. And as we can see in this case, Mercury is giving her death. So here also we can see very easily that using Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha, we can see various events in the life of Srimati Indira Gandhi. I'll take the last example, last chart here. And the last example we are going to take is a chart of Sri Rajiv Gandhi, son of Indira Gandhi. So Rajiv Gandhi becomes as soon as Indira Gandhi dies, Sri Rajiv Gandhi takes over the post of Prime Minister of India. So on 31st of October 1984 is when Indira Gandhi dies, and on the same day, Rajiv Gandhi assumes the role of the Prime Minister of India. So during that time, Rajiv Gandhi was just 41 years old. He was running 41st year of his life. Now let's see what is the Naisargic Dasha running at this time. So here, Naisargic Dasha of Saturn is running. Saturn is in the house of gains, fulfillment of desires, income, elder brother, etc. And Saturn is the planet of disease, sorrow, old age, spirituality, etc. So that of mother is a very sad moment. That of any parent or death of any near and dear ones is a very sad moment in anybody's life, right? So he has to suffer the sorrow. Saturn, we know, is the planet of sorrow, right? And Saturn in his chart is also the lord of 6th house and the 7th house. So 6th house, 6th lord and the 7th lord are both troublesome planets, right? These are troublesome houses. 7th house is the house, it's the Maraka house and the house of opposition, right? And then 6th house is the house of Shadripus. It is the house of enemies, right? Sudden events, accidents, right? Now this is happening in the 11th house. So if you look from the 4th house, 11th house is the 8th from the 4th house. So there is some trouble to the mother which is happening, right? Something to do with the mothers because 8th house of mother is getting activated. And the dispositor of Saturn goes in the ascendant. Dispositor of Saturn is Mercury. Mercury goes into ascendant, and then Mercury activates all the other planets in his chart, which include Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Venus, right? And thus he becomes the Prime Minister suddenly after the death of his mother. Right? Saturn brings a lot of responsibilities, right? And the responsibility of being the Prime Minister came to him. He did not wanted to become Prime Minister at this time because he was just 41 years of age. But then the circumstances made him the Prime Minister of India. So here also basic karakatvas of planets, if you use, you can apply the Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha and you can see the result and you can see the event very clearly. Then the final event happened in his life. He dies at the 47th running year. He died on 21st of May 1991, which will be under running year 47th. Now here, Naisargic Dasha of Moon is running. Moon is the dispositor of Rahu. So again, Rahu can give sudden mysterious events. And since Moon is the 12th lord, here we can also see 12th house Dasha is giving death to the person. And Moon goes into ascendant, right? So that is coming to him, right? So here also we can see that how beautifully this Naisargic Dasha is giving us the results. So hope I'm able to explain the concept. and hope you will be able to apply this Bhrigu Naisargic Dasha on different charts. Do let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this video. Bye.